Okay, so when you hear the word Haiti, what immediately comes to mind? Look, if we're being completely honest, for most of us, it's just this endless barrage of disaster headlines, right? Earthquakes, political turmoil, systemic poverty.
Right, but today we're going to completely shatter that preconception. We are unpacking an explainer that reveals a country that did something literally no other nation in human history had ever done before. We're talking about one of the absolute most extraordinary founding stories on Earth.
We are so constantly fed that narrative of perpetual crisis, but the staggering historical reality is just so much more powerful than that.
Exactly. So here is the first major reveal. Haiti is the site of the world's first and honestly only successful slave revolution. In 1804, enslaved Africans didn't just rebel, they completely defeated Napoleon's army.
You really have to think about the gravity of that for a second. Napoleon commanded one of the most dominant military machines on the planet at the time. Yet, the people of Haiti overthrew their oppressors and declared independence, becoming the world's first black republic.
It's incredible. It remains one of the most impossible military and political achievements ever recorded.
The historical arc here is genuinely mind-bending. Let's start way back in 1492. This island, Hispaniola, which Haiti shares with the Dominican Republic, is where Christopher Columbus actually first made landfall. It was the first permanent European settlement in the Western Hemisphere. So the modern history of the Americas literally begins right there.
Then we jump to 1804, to that unprecedented triumphant independence we just talked about. But the shocking twist comes over a century later, 1947. That is the year a massive, crippling debt was finally paid off.
Which naturally brings up the question, right? What debt, and why on earth were they paying it in 1947? Well, that leads us directly into the shocking financial aftermath of their newly won freedom. But before we unpack that debt, we have to recognize Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Henri Christophe. By leading their people to victory, they became the very first black heads of state in the modern world.
And the context behind their leadership is profound. When they took power, they were creating a completely new political model. There was absolutely no prior precedent, no blueprint for a nation born out of a slave uprising in a world still totally dominated by colonial empires. They were basically building a republic entirely from scratch against all possible odds.
Which brings us to a massive and frankly devastating number, 150 million. After Haiti achieved the impossible and won its independence, France didn't just accept defeat and walk away. No, they actually returned and demanded 150 million gold francs in quote-unquote compensation. Compensation to the former slaveholders for the loss of their quote-unquote property. Yeah, under the very real threat of military force and devastating blockades, France essentially forced Haiti to pay for its own freedom. And it took Haiti 140 years to pay that off. 140 years. They didn't finish making those payments until 1947.
Just imagine the developmental paralysis of sending a massive portion of your entire nation's wealth to a foreign power for over a century, literally just for the right to exist.
Historians point directly to this crippling, profoundly unjust extortion as a central foundational cause of Haiti's modern economic struggles. It was basically a century-long anchor weighing down the potential of an entire country. And you know, the physical, lasting toll of that history is starkly visible today, right at the border. On the Dominican Republic side of Hispaniola, the landscape is lush, it's green, and heavily forested. But cross over to the Haitian side and it is starkly brown. Over 98% of its original forests have been completely removed. And this isn't some ecological accident. That stark, visible boundary is the direct result of centuries of colonial exploitation compounded by just desperate economic need. To survive and to pay off that extorted 150 million franc debt, they had to systematically harvest their primary resource, which was their timber. So the landscape itself literally bears the scars of their history. But here is where the story takes another incredible turn, revealing Haiti's astounding global generosity. Because despite being financially suffocated by France, Haiti stepped up for others.
Yeah, this is amazing. When Simón Bolívar was fighting for Latin American independence, Haiti's first ruler, Alexandre Pétion, provided him with critical weapons, soldiers, money, and ships.
But there was one non-negotiable condition attached to this vital aid. Bolívar had to abolish slavery in any country he successfully liberated.
That is a real game changer. Without Haiti's support, the independence movements of countries like Venezuela and Colombia might have failed entirely. Haiti essentially funded the liberation of an entire continent.
Okay, let's shift gears to culture for a minute, because Haiti's identity is incredibly deep, yet frequently and sometimes deliberately misunderstood in the West.
Vodou is the perfect example of this. For centuries, Western culture has misrepresented it as dark magic or something sinister. You know, all those Hollywood tropes. But the reality is totally different. It is a profoundly complex spiritual system with deep West African roots.
It's actually so central to Haitian identity, community, and daily life that in 2003 the government formally recognized Vodou as an official religion, right alongside Catholicism and Protestantism. It's a true pillar of their cultural survival. And speaking of that strong identity, we absolutely have to talk about Haitian Creole. There's this huge misconception out there that Creole is just broken French.
Oh, that is entirely false. Haitian Creole is a fully developed, beautiful language in its own right. It has its own independent grammar, a rich literature, and complex rules.
It brilliantly blends French, West African languages, and indigenous Taino influences. Spoken by the entire population, it was rightfully and officially recognized as a national language alongside French in 1987. Now, moving over to architecture, Haiti has some wild historical connections. Take Port-au-Prince's highly iconic Iron Market. It's this gorgeous, ornate hall, but the backstory is fascinating. It was actually manufactured in Belgium and was originally intended to be a train station in Egypt. Right, but when the Egyptian deal fell through, Haiti swooped in, bought the massive structure, and shipped the whole shebang all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. It's just a fantastic detail that highlights Haiti's surprising global footprint. And you know, that incredible creativity extends far beyond architecture. Despite all the immense economic struggles and historical burdens we've just discussed, Haiti has produced some of the most vibrant and internationally celebrated art in the entire Western Hemisphere.
For sure. They fostered a highly distinctive school of naive and primitivist painting that is deeply respected by critics globally.
Today, this brilliant art hangs in major museums and galleries all across the world. It is such a striking juxtaposition. Immense cultural wealth and creativity thriving right amidst historic economic hardship. So how does our view change after learning all of this? Today, we've walked through these rapid revelations that should fundamentally reframe everything we think we know about this country.
Haiti's a nation that did the truly impossible. They executed the only successful slave revolution in history, founded the first Black Republic, funded the liberation of South America, and built a culture of extraordinary linguistic, spiritual, and artistic creativity.
Yet, they were forced to pay an extraordinary, brutal price, literally buying their own freedom and suffering centuries of extortion and poverty for a history they never chose.
So when you see those disaster headlines from now on, we really hope you also see a nation of unparalleled triumph and staggering sacrifice.
Thank you for joining us for this explainer. We hope it leaves you as profoundly moved and as curious to keep learning as we are.